Welcome back to Secret Weapons, and today we're taking a look at the Germanium Boost by Benson. I'm really glad to be doing this video because I don't like boost pedals. Traditionally, I find very little use in clean boosts, in low gain overdrives, in transparent overdrives in particular. There's a whole subsection of dirt pedals that I just find to be not that compelling. It may be a result of them not playing well in my direct-in rig. It may be a result of I just want something different out of my dirt section. I want something with more character. Things like the Benson Preamp that really do a lot to kind of tone shape. Things like the 1981 DRV that do a lot to kind of like cut really specific frequencies in pretty dramatic ways. If I'm using a drive pedal or a dirt pedal or a boost pedal of some kind, I need it to do something that I can tell what it's doing and I can see the value in adding that to my signal chain, which is why I'm glad to be doing this video. Spoiler alert, this is the only boost pedal I have ever liked. And I'm not saying that facetiously. If you go back on my Instagram, where I've posted hundreds of videos over the last 6 years or so, I don't think you will find a single boost pedal utilized anywhere on that entire channel. I don't think I have a single other boost pedal that still exists in my studio. Low gain drives, boost pedals, clean boosts, they all phase out. And this one is not going to, and let's talk about why. A couple months ago on this channel, I published a video on this, the Benson Germanium Fuzz. And Chris and I started talking because he noticed that the vast majority of my video and the stuff I had posted around that video using this pedal all centered really heavily on the clean tone capabilities in this pedal. Playing with that impedance knob and the gain knob to find glassy, present, really noteworthy sounds in this thing that aren't traditional fuzz sounds. And so while we were talking about that and my love of the clean tones in that fuzz, he let me know that he was working on a single knob boost pedal that was totally clean, but not at all transparent, and that he had developed a circuit that actually had all of that color and texture and coolness of the germanium transistor, but in a totally clean format. I would say that I was cautiously optimistic. I'm biased here. I intrinsically trust Benson when they're designing stuff. I think that Benson is a great amp manufacturer. The Benson Preamp is my favorite preamp pedal anyone has ever made. It's one of my favorite drives of all time. I'm very biased here. I have a lot of trust in his circuit design. And when this thing showed up, I was stoked to plug it in. So I did what I always do. I took the pedal, I stuck it on my giant board with tons of huge wet effects and a compressor and 3 other overdrives that all go into a digital amp simulator, the Strymon Iridium or the Walrus ACS1 or something like that. And I kicked this thing on and I liked it. I'm not going to say that I loved it because I think it's important to be honest and transparent even when there's bias, because there's always bias. But I wasn't in love with it. I liked the tone and the color of it a lot. There's a little bit of compression that happens. There's a very, very distinct saturation that it gives you, but I didn't find the boosting and the cutting to be super helpful. Being able to turn the volume down or turn the volume up on this thing doesn't really play well with the way that I structure my direct-in rig. But I could tell there was something there, and so what I did was I pivoted, and we put together the board you can see behind me right now. And what you see behind me is a wet-dry wet rig. We are running a Empress Compressor into the Germanium Boost, into the Benson Preamp, and then to a Goodwood audio splitter that sends one line to my Benson Vinny, a 1-watt, 1-knob amplifier that's in my closet right now, and then the other channel to my stereo wet effects and an amp sim. So I wired it all up, I mic'd up the amp in the closet, I kicked it on, and I fell in love with this pedal. Seriously, I was so enamored. This thing playing with a proper tube amp is a night and day difference from my direct-in environments. This thing did everything that I wanted it to do for something like that, especially with something like the Benson Vinny. If you're familiar with that amp, it's a single knob, and when you turn it down, it is cleaner and brighter, and when you turn it up, it is grittier and darker. This is amazing because it is totally flat except for that color, but you can cut and boost with that color, which meant I was able to do things like turn the amp down for cleaner tones, but then use this to bring in that germanium saturation to get more drive out of the amp. And likewise, I was able to turn the amp up for that kind of darker, grittier tone, but then cut back a little bit, keeping that saturation, but cleaning up the amp while keeping that amp sounding slightly darker and more kind of warm than you would have been able to do otherwise. This thing sounds so good, like I said, with that slight compression and that color, that on all the guitar tracks and the bass track that you heard on the intro song for this, I'm not using the Benson Preamp or the Empress Compressor. That entire song is only this pedal. I am doing no other boosting, I'm doing no other compressing, I'm doing no other driving. It is all coming off of the Benson Germanium Boost, and I find that to be astounding because I rely really heavily on like 4 or 5 stages of dry tone stacking to get the sound that I want. And to go direct into an amp with just this is kind of insane for me. Obviously, we're doing all of our wet stuff in stereo kind of around that center channel, but I look around my studio and I can't find a single boost pedal, a single low gain overdrive, a single transparent overdrive. There's not a single one that I have kept in this studio. If you go on my Instagram, where I've been posting videos for like 6 years, at least one a week, you will not find a single video of me raving about a one knob pedal. You will not find a single post about me raving about a boost, but I can tell you I am here to rave about this one, and I can tell you that this thing is not going anywhere. This is staying on the board in the studio. It is a really, really good boost. It is the only boost I like. So let's go ahead and get to our top down. We will actually introduce the Benson Preamp and the compressor for some of the sound samples we're about to get into to show how this can actually play with your other drives. We will do some of that stuff I was talking about of boosting and cutting the volume on the Benson Vinny and counterbalancing it with the Germanium Boost to kind of showcase how versatile a one knob, totally clean boost can actually be. Okay, so before we get started, I think it's important that we run through the pedal board context so we understand what it is that we are hearing beyond just the Germanium Boost. I am playing a Harmony Silhouette with mini humbuckers into the Empress Compressor Mark II, the Germanium Boost, and the Benson Preamp. From there, we are going to a Goodwood audio interfacer where we split the signal down 2 paths. Path 1 will go straight to our Benson Vinny, set at noon, mic'd with an E609 running through a Soyuz launcher into a Behringer channel strip. The other side will go out to the Strymon El Cap, the Specular Tempest, and the Strymon Flint, hitting the Walrus ACS1 as Fender amps, going into the Pinstripe Pedals Disso Plus, which is hitting the back of my Apollo Twin. Everything is being recorded in Universal Audio's Luna. We are using Neve 1073 preamps on all channels, and that is everything that I think you need to know. Let's hear just the guitar tone, no boost, no wet effects, no nothing. And now with the wet effects. Now let's just hit that boost, also set at noon. Like I said, we can use that cut knob to keep our EQ where it is, but be able to clean up the amp. Okay, we have now brought our amp down to around 3 o'clock, which means we are going to get a cleaner and brighter, chimier tone. So let's turn the boost off, reestablish a baseline, and then we will see what the boost can do in that context as far as driving the amp or coloring the existing tone. And then we'll also start to play around with the Benson Preamp and the compressor to kind of see how the boost can further accentuate some of your other kind of clean, boosting, EQing pedals. And conversely, we've now taken the Benson Vinny up to 3 o'clock, which is close to maxed out, very dark, very gritty. So let's hear what that sounds like with no other tonal modifications. That's a lot. Let's see what we can do to kind of keep that darkness, but also clean it up. So I wanted to wrap things up by making a couple of quick changes. We have replaced the Harmony Silhouette with my 1972 Fender Mustang with like comically clean low output pickups. And we have swapped out the Benson Vinny for my Harmony H620, a really warm, mellow, clean amplifier that I really love. These two things work really well together. It's kind of a go-to clean sound for me. So we're going to set that up. We're going to hear how that sounds. We'll bring in the Germanium Boost at different volumes to kind of see how that character can play nice with that amp and in aiding these low output pickups to get a little bit more body and grit out of what they're capable of doing. And then finally, we will dial in the compressor and the Benson Preamp and the Germanium Boost together to kind of dial up what I would probably use as my bass clean tone using all three of those things. So let's give this a listen. This is just the amp and the guitar.
you.